Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live Weather Authority coverage starts right now.
Well, good evening to you guys. I hope you are all enjoying your day. I hope you were able to get out there and enjoy this beautiful afternoon. Lots of sunshine out there. I was outside looking for clouds. I couldn't find any. We had sunny skies across much of the state, and it was just a spectacular day. And, again, a really nice March day, but things are going to change as we head through the next few. We are going to see the clouds start to move in as we head into the daytime tomorrow. I think we will see mainly cloudy skies throughout much of the day, but if you have plans to step outside for your Saturday, we are looking good. We are going to stay mainly dry, so that's the good news, and temperatures will run around where they should be, right about 40 degrees or so, some upper 30s as well. But then things are going to change, and we are going to see big changes by Saturday night and into the daytime on Sunday, and there's a lot to dive in with this storm, so let's do that right now. Again, I hope you guys are all enjoying your evening. We have rain off to our west and quite a bit of it. And really, there's two storm systems right now, and you can actually pretty much point them out. One of them is moving through areas like the Great Lakes and Chicago. Cincinnati looking at some rain right now, and then we have another storm system down to the south, and that has a lot more heavy rain associated with it, and that heavier rain eventually is going to be a storm system that moves into our area by the time we get to Saturday night and Sunday. But again, we are going to stay dry as we head through at least the next 24 hours. Now, as we get a closer look to home, not much to talk about. We have mainly clear skies out there right now, and we are going to stay mostly clear at least for the next several hours before clouds start to move in during the overnight. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, if you're an early riser, you might see a few peaks of sunshine, but I think for the most part, we are going to stay dry, and we are going to stay mostly cloudy for your Saturday. We have a winter storm watch up. Yes, a winter storm watch. That is one ingredient of this storm. I said on the broadcast earlier that this is really like a three-course meal. We have the snow portion of this storm, which is going to give a good amount of snowfall to some areas up towards the mountains. Sugarloaf, Sunday River, a lot of those mountains are going to get dumped on with snow. And I have a snowfall map that I'm going to show you guys in a second. But yes, this winter storm watch runs from Saturday evening through late Sunday night. And we are going to get really just some pretty heavy snowfall in some parts of the state, but not everywhere. If you're down to the coast, you're probably not looking at much at all. A high wind watch is up for the coastline, so that's really course number 2, is we have the strong gusty winds, but it's really for the coast that we are going to see the strong winds. Once you get inland, you're probably talking more, say 20 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, which is still, a pretty strong wind, but it's not at least horrible. Like we will see down to the coast, we're probably talking maximum wind gusts. I would say time frame between about 5 a.m. to noon is going to be the strongest winds for the day on Sunday. We would see probably the maximum wind gusts for most areas along the coast fall between 40 to 55 miles per hour. Once you get up to the mid-coast, there's going to be some towns that see a wind gust to 60 miles per hour. I just have a good feeling, especially some of those islands out towards the mid-coast and stuff. I could absolutely see some of that, but I think most areas 40 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts. And of course, here is course number 3. We have the flood watch up for most of our forecast area. This includes the Lewiston, Augusta area, most of I-95 up through parts of Penobscot County. Once you get up towards Bangor, it's not. We do not have the flood watch, but even down towards the coastline, we do. Now, we actually also have a coastal flood watch for the coastline as well, as we are going to see the potential for some coastal flooding with this storm system. And I'm going to get into more details on that coming up in just a couple minutes, so bear with me here. Temperatures right now, if you are planning to step outside over the next couple hours, not too bad. We're in the 20s and 30s for the most part. During most of the 5 and 6 p.m. shows, we were in the 40s. Now we have dropped into the 30s, and we are going to see these numbers probably stay in the upper 20s and lower 30s for much of the evening and nighttime. Here's your forecast for tonight. Temperatures will bottom out in the upper 20s to right around 30 degrees. We'll see clear skies for the next several hours before eventually we are going to see these clouds start to increase. But the light wind, we are going to see a pretty nice evening if you have plans to step outside for your Friday night. Here's your forecast for the daytime tomorrow. No weather issues. I mean, the winds will start to pick up just a tiny bit during the afternoon and evening. We are going to stay cloudy throughout much of the day. Again, you might see a few peaks of sunshine 5, 6, 7 a.m., but other than that, we are looking pretty good. And then cloudy skies expected for much of the afternoon and evening as well. Temperatures right about average. I mean, we're in the upper 30s to right around 40 degrees. But now, this is when things start to get fun, and that is for the nighttime on Saturday through probably around the noontime on Sunday, give or take. Now, we have a storm system off to our west. This is 4 p.m. Tomorrow, and notice we're still dry. I mean, we have cloudy skies out there around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No weather issues if you're planning to hit the roads or anything like that. But we do have the rain off to our west, and it's not too far off to our south and west, and it will move in by the time we get to the nighttime. I think anytime after about 9 to 10 p.m. is when we are going to start to see some rain and snow move in across the state. And then we are going to see it get only heavier as we head through the overnight and into Sunday morning. Here is the area of low pressure at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And I wanted to pause it right here for a specific reason. We have high tide expected to be 11.3 feet. That's with no storm system. That's on a probably bright, sunny, beautiful day. Now, when you factor in the fact that this storm system is just off to our west, the area of low pressure and where it's situated at 11 o'clock in the morning is going to have a major impact on what we see when it comes to the amount of coastal flooding. And all of the computer models are showing it just down to the south and west of Portland. And that's important because when you have a storm system, an area of low pressure off to the west, what happens is you have a counterclockwise flow around an area of low pressure, and this counterclockwise flow is going to bring in this wind right off of the water, and you can see that right here that we have a southeasterly wind during the 11 a.m. hour on Sunday, and that is when high tide is. And that's very important because, well, if you have a astronomically high tide due to a new moon cycle, but then you also have 40, 50 mile per hour winds coming directly off the ocean and onto the land. Not only are you going to get some storm surge with that, but it's not even just the 1.5 foot of storm surge that we're anticipating. We also have the waves on top of that, and some of the waves could be 12, 15, 16, 17 feet right off the coast. So we are going to see some very large waves during the morning hours on Sunday, and we are going to anticipate some coastal flooding during the morning hours on Sunday as well. If you're in some of these areas, for example, in Portland, I mean, you have Marginal Way. In January, that was underwater. Commercial Street, areas like that, around the Whole Foods Market, a lot of, say, Higgins Beach, Willard Beach, and all these beaches, there's going to be a lot of water all over it. And I do think a lot of these places, Coastal Route 1 in many areas, will at least have splash over, if not completely covered in water during the morning hours on Sunday. And I'm kind of highlighting the 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. time frame because, of course, it's not just 11:41 in the morning that we see the flooding. It's a little bit before and a little bit after. And I'm highlighting around that 3-hour window, 10 to 1 p.m. for the flooding to really start to impact places. And it is going to continue to increase through the morning, mid to late morning hours But this is not going to be as bad as the January storm. The January storm topped out at 14.57 feet. This is forecasted to be 13.7, and I will get into a little more detail on that in just a second. But again, that is going to cause some issues. It is going to cause some coastal flooding. Anybody that did see flooding for the January storm and say you saw a foot or so, you're probably going to get at least some coastal or some flooding as we head through the day on Sunday. So here's a look at the precipitation, and we're going to break all of this down now. And we are looking at the precip moving in. I'm saying after about 9 to 10 p.m. In the far southern and southwestern part of the state. We are looking at rain down to the coast. If you are in Portland, if you're in any of these areas, you're pretty much looking at rain. Anywhere south here, this is a rainstorm for you guys. So this includes Portsmouth, it includes Portland, Rockland, Booth Bay Harbor, for example. But once you get up to Sebago Lake, Lewiston, Augusta, I think you start out as a little bit of snow, but then you quickly transition over to rain. So it's kind of a tough situation because you might see a little bit of accumulation to start in Augusta and Lewiston, but you can see how it quickly goes over right to rain during the morning hours. This includes Sebago Lake, all of Cumberland County, all of York County, all of the Mid-Coast, Augusta, all these areas go quickly over to rain. And so any accumulation that you might have had, a coating to an inch during the overnight hours, is going to wash away. So you're probably waking up to absolutely no snowfall accumulation in areas like Augusta and Lewiston. Certainly is possible that you could see a little bit, at least maybe in some spots, but I think a lot of any accumulation during the overnight is going to quickly wash away, and we are going to see the snow continue up to the north. And we're highlighting really like these areas in particular, at least in our forecast zone, for snowfall accumulation that could be maybe double digits in some spots. Mount Washington, Sugarloaf, Sunday River, all those mountains are likely anticipating upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow. And I have a map coming up, but you can see 9 o'clock in the morning, they're still looking at snow up to the north. We are looking at rain for much of the area, rain and wind. Of course, you can't tell the wind on this map, but we are looking at strong winds at 9 o'clock in the morning as well. And this moves on out of here. We are going to dry out for the afternoon. We could even see a few peaks of sunshine by the afternoon as well. I do think this computer model might be a little too quick with the ending time of this precipitation, but we are going to see it move on out of here. Now let's break down the coastal flooding. 11:41 in the morning on Sunday. As I was just mentioning, and I really wanted to talk about this twice in this forecast because it is a big deal, and we are going to see anytime after about 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, you guys are going to start to notice some of the water levels starting to creep up. You're going to start to notice the splash over, and once you get towards the 11:30, 11:41 time frame, that's when it's going to peak, and we are going to see coastal flooding upwards of 1.5 feet, but that doesn't count waves on top of that. If you do have some wave action on top of the water, that's just that much higher that the water can go. But we have flood stage at right around 12 feet. So if we're forecasting around 13.7, that means a little bit more than 1.5 feet of storm surge is expected, which does qualify for moderate coastal flooding. 14 feet is the flood stage that you would see major coastal flooding in the Portland region. So we aren't exactly there yet, but we're not far off. We're only a few inches off from major flooding, but we do still quantifies as moderate coastal flooding, and we are going to see this as we head through the morning hours on Sunday. But then by the time we get to the afternoon, for the most part, things will start to wind down. And yes, this is the other part of this story. We are looking at no snowfall accumulation for the coast, according to maybe an inch or two in some spots for Lewiston, Augusta, areas like that, up through Bangor along I-95. Once you get north of Lewiston and Augusta, you might see an inch or two or a couple inches of snow. But then it's really up to the north that we are highlighting. We have that spot over towards Rangeley in the 8 to 12, the Mount Washington the Mount Washington White Mountains area, 8 to 12 inches of snow. But really wanted to highlight, where like Sugarloaf and places like Sunday River are, is they are probably going to see upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow. And it probably is going to be I don't think it's going to be a very fluffy snow, only because temperatures will be running in the 20s, like the upper 20s and lower to middle 30s. I don't think it's super pasty up towards the far north in the mountains, but most areas that do see any snow, like just north of Lewiston and Augusta, that's where it's probably going to be a little more pasty during the early morning hours on Sunday before washing over to rain. And we are going to see this move on out of here for the afternoon. And this is the other story. Yes, the wind. We are going to see wind gusts upwards of down towards the coast, probably 40 to 55 miles per hour. I think that's where we max out during the morning. Now, once we get to about 5 a.m., you notice areas like Portsmouth already gusting to 43 miles per hour. Of course, that is probably not going to be super accurate. I mean, of course, we can't predict that it's going to be 43 miles per hour at 5 a.m. in Portsmouth, but we can get an idea that you see the stronger wind gusts are in the southern part of the state, and we are going to see these strong wind gusts move up to the north as we head through the morning hours. We peak 40 to 55 miles per hour. I do think there's going to be some spots up towards the mid-coast, down east, that could see upwards of 60 miles per hour. I certainly think that's a possibility. I do think that will happen during the morning hours on Sunday. But 40 to 55 for most areas. This moves on out of here. By the time we get to the afternoon, it will stay breezy, but we are going to see the wind start to wind down. You can see by 12 or 8 o'clock in the evening, the wind gusts are already down to 12 to 15 miles per hour, so that's just about nothing, of course. Let's get a look at your 7-day forecast, and we are going to stay cloudy for the day on Saturday. Then rain develops at the coastline at night. We'll see rain and wind develop, I should say. And then we have the weather warn up for coastal flooding on Sunday morning. Again, the high tide peaks at 11:41, so keep that number in mind, but you really want to prepare from about, say, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for some coastal flooding, because, of course, it's not going to just be at 11:41 that we see the flooding, so it'll be a few hour time frame that we do see this flooding, and that's what we have the weather warn up for. Strong gusty winds expected, 40 to 55 miles for the coastline, but this is a rain event for the coast. I can't rule out a couple places close to the coast seeing a few snowflakes to start in the first hour, but then it's going to go right over to rain. This is a rainstorm for areas near the coast. Now, even inland, it's tough to say on Sunday that we're going to see much snow. I think any of your snow inland, Lewiston, Augusta, I'm really highlighting those two places for areas inland. You guys are going to see your snow at the very beginning of this storm. So 10, 11 o'clock in the night on Saturday through the overnight hours. By the time we get to Sunday morning, this is transitioned over to rain, which is why I have a rain forecast, rain icon for the day on Sunday, is even for areas inland, I think this is going to be a rainstorm during the day on Sunday. But you do get some snow on Saturday night. And mountains, you guys are going to stay mainly snow for this entire event. This moves out of here, a little bit of sunshine possible. I'm trying to be optimistic for the afternoon on Sunday, but then clouds expected on Monday. We will see the chance for a rain or snow shower as well. And of course, don't forget to change your clocks ahead 1 hour Saturday night before you go to bed. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking good. Mostly sunny skies. Then temperatures warm up. We're really no big sign of winter unless you're in the mountains over the next 2 days. Temperatures in the 40s to lower 50s by the time we get to the day on Friday. Weak disturbance might bring us a couple rain showers on Friday, but other than Saturday night into Sunday over the next 7 days, we don't have any big storms, again, besides this upcoming weekend. Let me get to a couple questions. There's really not too many, but Allie, power outages. Yes. I do think there will be power outages. I would quantify it as scattered, so a little more than isolated, but I don't think it's going to be widespread. When you have the big factors working in our favor for lower power outages is, the winds are going to be strong, so that's going to hurt the things, but you don't have leaves on the trees, so that means the trees are probably going to be able to withstand this wind. Most areas down towards the coast and inland, we're really not going to see too much in the way of snow. So it's not like the snow is caking onto all the trees and the power lines and everything like that. This is pretty much a rainstorm. We've had many systems that brought us 40 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts down to the coast, 20 to 40 miles per hour for areas inland. Yeah, I don't think power outages are going to be a major deal. I really don't, but I do think there will, of course, be scattered because if you can have a sunny day. Let's be real. We can have a sunny day and we can have power outages. So I do think any day can bring power outages, but this storm in particular is not going to be a reason for widespread power outages. Wanda, good evening to you. How much snow for Oxford County? Well, that's a very large area, Wanda. If you're in the Freiburg area, if you're in, say, southern Oxford County, you're probably talking a couple inches. If you're up towards Sunday River, if you're in the mountains up towards central and northern, especially central, you're talking 6 to 12 inches of snow. So it really just depends on where you are in Oxford County because Oxford County is very long and big. Good evening to you, Brandon. I hope you are doing well. Allie, I'll answer this one as well. Win for Sanford, I would say you're probably maxing out 30 to 40. 30 to 40, maybe 30 to 45, I think you max out at. It's the coastline that's going to see the very strong wind gusts. But we are going to see at least some some winds out there right now. Kenneth, I have to pull this one up. Glad I am in Florida. It's 81 degrees here. I was just in the Bahamas last week, so that was pretty nice. I have to admit that was a fun trip. That's for sure. What else do we have? Katie got in here late. You can always go back and watch it though. Snow for the mid-coast? No snow for the mid-coast. No snow for the coastline. If you see a couple snowflakes at the very onset of this storm tomorrow night, okay, it's possible, but no. This is not a snow event whatsoever for the mid-coast, for the coastline in general. So that is some good news. And, Bridgeton, oops, I pulled up the wrong one. Let me pull this one up, though, because I did. Brandon, will there be any widespread power outages? No. Again, I kind of just mentioned about the power outages. I don't think so. I'm going scattered for areas like that. Bridgeton, a lot of, areas like that, I think this is still mainly a rain event. It's up towards the mountains that we are going to see the, heavier snowfall rates. Alex, he just popped on here. Cold enough Sunday night for ice? No, I wouldn't be concerned Sunday night for any ice. Precip is over and temperatures are going to be in the 30s. And, you also have you have a long period of drying out from 1 p.m. through the evening and nighttime, and then also the gusty winds will dry things up. So I think the roads will dry up pretty quickly until once the flooding really resides, of course. But Diane, what about Kennebunk? Yeah, again, any of these places down towards the coastline, you are running the risk for coastal flooding. And as much as I want to try and stay as positive as I can, I also don't want to be too lenient and too positive because that might make people, less concerned. And I do think you need to prepare at least for some coastal flooding. It depends. If you're at the coastline, yeah, you should certainly be a little bit concerned. But really this will be the last thing I mentioned, that, I think everybody here, pretty much everyone watching this has pretty much probably experienced the January storm because that was only about 2 months ago. What you saw on that storm, it's going to be close, but not as bad. We maxed out at I might have already mentioned this too. We maxed out at 14.57 feet for coastal flooding during that event. This one's forecasted to be 13.7, so that's not that far off. major flooding is 14 feet. So we are going to see, again, if you had coastal flooding, if you had water in your yard on the January 13th storm, then you're probably going to have water in your yard once again on Sunday. And if you had, water in your basement, unfortunately, you might have that again, and you need to prepare for that because we are going to see the coastal flooding impact areas, especially down towards the coast, of course, low-lying areas, coastal Route 1, places like that, some of those roads and stuff. We are going to probably be dealing with this coastal flooding. I hope you guys can all tune in for the 10 and 11 o'clock. If you are tuning in late to this, you can always just rewatch the video. I hope you guys have a great evening. I will be back throughout the weekend. I'll be back on doing this Facebook Live again for tomorrow evening, and I will continue to update it. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a good one. Tune in for 10 and 11. I'll have the latest forecast there. I hope you guys have a great night.